Malcolm-Jamal Warner passed away at 54. They say it was a drowning accident in Costa Rica. Just a tragic moment while trying to save his daughter, but almost instantly people started asking questions because nothing about this adds up. The Cosby Show icon, a man known for staying out of drama, out of the spotlight, and out of trouble, gone like that? And then Cat Williams came forward, and what he said flipped the whole story upside down. Suddenly, this wasn't just an accident. It started looking like something much deeper, something darker, a warning, a silencing. And if what Cat claims is even half true, then Malcolm-Jamal Warner was never supposed to come home alive. Because in the game of Hollywood, truth has a price. And for Malcolm, that price may have been everything. Before we dive into the controversy, let's talk about the man himself. Because Malcolm wasn't just another 80s sitcom star who disappeared. He wasn't one of those cautionary tales you hear about, child stars who crash, burn, and make headlines. No, Malcolm was different. He was the beating heart of The Cosby Show, a symbol of black excellence at a time when television gave us nothing but stereotypes. He played Theo Huxtable, smart, funny, vulnerable, real. And off-screen, he was the same. Disciplined, intelligent, focused. As a teenager, he could have gone left like so many others, but he didn't. He stayed grounded, he stayed private, and as the years passed, while the industry shifted and demanded more scandal, more shock, Malcolm stayed true. No messy breakups, no scandals, no clout chasing. He raised his daughter in peace, protected her from the spotlight, and quietly built a body of work that was full of meaning, not noise. That's the kind of man he was. And maybe that's why they didn't celebrate him while he was here. On July 20th, 2025, Malcolm-Jamal Warner was supposed to be making memories, not headlines. He was vacationing with his family in Costa Rica, far away from the pressures of Hollywood. A peaceful trip, a well-earned break. They were staying near a beach called Playa Grande, known for its stunning views and powerful surf. But behind that postcard beauty was something far more dangerous. That beach had a history. Powerful rip currents, sudden shifts in tide, and worst of all, a lack of protection. No lifeguards on duty that day. No emergency responders nearby. Just a few weather-worn signs in Spanish and English, warning about hazardous conditions. Warnings most tourists brush off. But on that day, those warnings became prophecy. Around 2 p.m., Malcolm and a friend walked into the water. His 8-year-old daughter stayed on the sand. And that detail matters. Because early reports, repeated by major outlets, said he drowned while heroically trying to save her. But that narrative quickly fell apart. She never entered the water. She was never in danger. The media ran with a false image, a father rushing in to rescue his little girl, and it tugged on our emotions. But it also distracted us from the real question. If he wasn't saving his daughter, what really happened out there? As soon as Malcolm and his friend stepped into the ocean, a strong rip current pulled them both under. The ocean didn't give them a second chance. His friend barely made it out. Malcolm didn't. Panicked beachgoers jumped in. Surfers paddled out. One even stayed with his daughter, making sure she was safe while chaos unfolded just yards away. Another managed to reach Malcolm, pull his body onto a surfboard and bring him to shore. But by the time they reached the sand, he was unconscious. No pulse, no breath. CPR began immediately. Red Cross medics arrived. They shocked him with a defibrillator. They tried for 45 straight minutes, but it wasn't enough. At 3:02 p.m., Malcolm-Jamal Warner was pronounced dead right there on the beach. The cause of death was listed as asphyxiation from drowning. The autopsy ruled it an accident. End of story. At least, officially. But the deeper you look, the less it makes sense. This wasn't just an accident. A well-known beach with a reputation for danger, but no lifeguards assigned that day. In fact, local reports said lifeguards had been temporarily relocated to another beach nearby, leaving Playa Grande completely unprotected. Why? no explanation. And why did major media outlets rush to release a false story about him saving his daughter? The narrative spread fast, almost too fast, and then disappeared once it was debunked, almost like it was planted to mask something else.
And here's what really stings. This wasn't some reckless celebrity doing something foolish. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't showing off. He wasn't partying. He was spending time with his family in peace, just being a father. And yet somehow the system still failed him. From the moment he stepped into the water, the outcome felt pre-written. A beloved figure erased in silence with no proper safety measures, no backup, and no accountability. And while the official story wrapped up with a clean autopsy and a tragic headline, people who knew Malcolm, and people who've seen this kind of thing before, started asking harder questions. Why was there so much confusion in the reports? Why was his death treated like a one-day story by the same industry that now wants to praise him in retrospect? And why does it feel like, once again, someone who didn't play the game paid the ultimate price? Because if this really was just an accident, it was one built on neglect, misdirection, and eerie silence. And if it wasn't, then the truth about what really happened in those waves might be darker than any of us are ready to admit. When the news of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death hit the headlines, most celebrities did what they always do: posted a caption, shared a clip, and kept it moving. But not Cat Williams. He didn't just mourn, he questioned, he challenged, he came out swinging. And what he said made people stop scrolling. Cat didn't waste time dancing around it. He came right out and said it. Malcolm's death didn't feel like an accident. In Cat's words, this ain't just about a drowning, this is about who they silence, when they silence them, and why. And if anyone knows how Hollywood really works, it's him. Cat Williams has been blackballed, dragged through the media, called unstable, paranoid, even crazy. But the truth is, the man has receipts. For years, he's been talking about the hidden hands behind the curtain, the unspoken rules of fame, the tests certain black celebrities are given, the rooms you're invited into, the ones you're told not to talk about, the lines you're expected to cross to level up. And if you refuse, the machine turns on you. This wasn't Cat chasing clout. This was Cat connecting dots, and Malcolm was one of those dots. See, Cat's been through it all. A-list, stand-up specials, blockbuster roles, millions of fans, and yet he's constantly painted as a cautionary tale. But when you listen to him closely, it's not incoherent rambling. It's warnings. Warnings about how this industry eats its own, especially the ones who won't play along. Especially the ones who try to stay clean, stay real, stay grounded. Just like Malcolm. Cat talked about how certain people in Hollywood are elevated not because of talent, but because of obedience. The ones who conform. The ones who say yes to everything. Who put on the dress. Who keep their heads down and do what they're told. They get the endorsement deals, the primetime interviews, the award nominations. But the moment you step out of line, it's over. And then Cat said something that hit like a punch in the gut. When you're black in this industry and you don't play the game, they don't just block you. Sometimes they erase you. Let that sink in. Because here was Malcolm-Jamal Warner, a man with no scandals, no arrests, no messy divorces, a man who stayed out of the spotlight, focused on raising his daughter, building meaningful work and minding his business. And yet, when he died, the story around him was messy, incomplete, confused, almost like someone wanted the focus to stay on the tragedy and not the truth. Cat called out that exact pattern, the way the media spins a quick emotional narrative to get people to stop asking questions. He drowned saving his daughter. Sounds noble, heartbreaking, but also convenient, because it keeps people from asking, where were the lifeguards? Why was there no safety? Who dropped the ball? Cat didn't claim to have the full story, but what he did say was this: If you think Malcolm's death was just a freak accident, you're not paying attention, because it fits the same blueprint we've seen before. A quiet rebel, a man of substance, a black artist who didn't sell out, dead under suspicious circumstances. And suddenly, the same industry that ignored him is singing his praises? To Cat, that's not coincidence. That's choreography. He even brought up his own experiences. Times he was offered roles and opportunities only if he played along. Times he saw lesser talents get fast-tracked to stardom because they were easier to control. Times he was punished for speaking truth. And he made it clear. Malcolm was walking that same tightrope, refusing to bend, refusing to break. And now, he's gone. And that's why Cat's words hit so hard. Because they weren't just about Malcolm. They were about every real one the industry has tried to bury, and about the ones still breathing, who might be next. Cat's not the only one who's talked about this. Look at the names. Dave Chappelle walked away from $50 million when he realized his show had become a minstrel act. They called him crazy. Terrence Howard openly discussed pay inequality in Hollywood and suddenly vanished from major roles. Orlando Jones spoke about dignity and instantly got replaced. Tyler James Williams fought to be seen as more than just a child star and was met with constant resistance. It's a pattern. If you speak up, carry yourself with integrity, or refuse to sell your soul, they cut you off, quietly, systematically. And Malcolm? He fit that exact profile. He didn't play the game. He didn't chase mess. And that made him expendable in an industry addicted to chaos. What's wild is how subtle Malcolm's rebellion was. He didn't shout. He didn't tweet rants. But his silence was louder than most people's noise. He refused to wear dresses for laughs, refused to take demeaning roles, refused to exploit his personal life for clicks. Instead, he raised his daughter with love and intention, started a podcast called Not All Hood to push back on stereotypes, created spoken word albums, worked with jazz legends, and used his platform to uplift instead of degrade. That's not what the industry wants. They want spectacle. Malcolm gave them substance, and they ignored him for it. His net worth? Around $6 million. Respectable, but nowhere near what a legend should have had. This man helped define an era, shaped black culture on TV, and still couldn't get the recognition he deserved. Why? Because he wouldn't sell out. And when you won't sell out, the system sells you short. The moment he died, here came the tributes. Streams of old Cosby Show clips, celebrities writing paragraphs like they were lifelong friends, news anchors tearing up, playlists curated in his honor. But where were y'all when he was alive? Where was the support when he pitched Not All Hood? When he tried to fund independent projects? When he was building something bigger than himself? Nowhere. They left him to grind in silence. And the second he was gone, they branded him a legend. Like that makes up for decades of neglect. It's the same script. Nipsey Hussle, Chadwick Boseman, Left Eye, even Michael Jackson, quiet warriors who were ignored, mocked, or misunderstood, until death gave people permission to pretend they cared. But by then, it's too late. And deep down, we all know it. Here's what they don't want you to see. Hollywood doesn't reward truth. It rewards compliance. The louder you perform, the more they hand you. You wear what they tell you to wear. Say what they want you to say. Show up for their agenda. You'll get the awards, the endorsements, the applause. But the second you step off script, you're done. Malcolm didn't step off it. He never got on it. And that terrified them. He wasn't loud, but he was sharp, intentional, and completely uninterested in being anyone's puppet. The industry thrives on distraction, chaos, controversy, viral nonsense. That's why the ones they push to the top are the loudest, messiest, and most predictable. Meanwhile, the ones like Malcolm, who represent dignity, who protect their families, who create meaningful art, get ignored until they're gone. And when they're gone, the machine kicks in, roll out old footage, reshare interviews, cry on cue, profit from the loss. It's business, cold and calculated. You think those Instagram captions are real grief? Half of them are typed by assistants. It's all performance, because in this system, silence isn't golden, it's disposable. And the real ones get buried long before the funeral.
So now what? Will anything actually change? Will Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death wake people up, or will the machine chew through the next truth teller just as fast? That's the real tragedy here. This wasn't just about losing a good man. It's about what it says, that even when you do everything right, even when you live with purpose, even when you protect your child, stay out of scandal, create meaningful work, and stay grounded, this industry still finds a way to erase you, and then turns your memory into profit. Malcolm didn't ask for the spotlight, he just wanted to build. And now that he's gone, everyone wants to act like he mattered, when they treated him like he didn't. The same Hollywood that ignored him is now selling his legacy like it's a brand, and we let it happen, over and over. The question isn't why Malcolm died. The question is, why do we only start listening when it's too late?